Hello and welcome to Meist Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby Hoffmeister, and today I'll be showing you 3 tips to use your pattern paper and backgrounds. So here are the cards I'll be making today with these tips, and I'll just kind of walk you through it. I like to keep this little bin here with some pattern or like just some strips that I cut off of backgrounds or different pattern papers, and then I can go in there and create really easy and fast strip cards. So that is my first tip for you, is to cut your backgrounds or your pattern paper into strips and then make strip cards. And I think it's a really fast technique as well. It's to make really quick cards, so it's definitely a very useful tip. I just have these 2 backgrounds that I cut little strips off of, and I saved them, and now I'm going to create a card out of them. And this is really great because these colors go really well for a masculine card. This could also work with a feminine card as well, so whatever you decide, but it's a really great option for masculine cards as well, because strips can be very versatile and just based on the colors or the pattern that you use. So it's really nice. This card probably took me 15 minutes to make the whole thing, and I added a lot of extra details that you definitely wouldn't have to add. It was really simple. I just glued these strips on with some liquid glue in a diagonal pattern, but you could do horizontal or vertical or whatever you feel like. You could cover the whole piece of cardstock, or you could just do half like I did here. I just cut the excess off with a guillotine trimmer, and then sometimes I like to add embossing folder texture to strip cards, because I think it just adds so much dimension and is just so fun to add to strip cards. So I have this stars embossing folder from Simon Says Stamp. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I will definitely link it in the description box below for you. I'm just playing with the sandwich here on my die cutting machine. It had a little bit too much pressure, so I just took out my shim I had, and then it ran through nice, and it created a beautiful impression onto the stripped background. And so yeah, here you can see how beautiful it looks with the stripped paper. I think it was just a really fun texture. I really like to do this when we have like white space around the strips, and it just adds a lot to it, and I really love adding embossing folders to my stripped backgrounds. Next, I will just, as you know, I like to use thin cardboard that is just laying around the house to add dimension to my cards. I think dimension is really important in card making, so I like to have an inexpensive way to do this. So I just added that onto an A2 size card base. This is white cardstock, and the size is 5 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then I just added this black little sentiment strip. I just foiled this with some opaque white foil onto some black cardstock, and then I cut it into a strip, and I added it with some more cardboard there, and then I will just cut off the excess. I probably should have done that before gluing it to the card base, but it worked out totally fine. And then I will bring in some embellishments here. I think masculine cards can have embellishments too. Just adds a little extra texture and interest to the card. I have these Studio Katia marshmallow pearls, I believe. I will link them again for you down below. And then I'm just going to add an odd number and in triangles, because that is what looks pleasing to the eye. A really easy tip there for you to follow when adding embellishments. And then I will move on to the next card. So my next tip is to foil. I am using the Glimmer Hot Foil machine, and I really do think that the Glimmer Hot Foil machine is definitely worth the money that it costs, because I think it just really elevates your cards. But if you don't have this, there are other cheaper options with Mink machines or like stencils and pastes out there. There's a lot of other foiling options for you, or you could just add foil cardstock depending on what you'd like, but I think foiling definitely elevates and just helps create this pattern paper to be the center of the tension or your background, whatever you decide. I have a little piece of pattern paper here, and then I just foiled the chevron plate from Pink Fresh Studio with some holographic foil, and I will just add this onto the card with some thin cardboard again, and onto a 2 size card that is dark gray. And then I have this Concord and Ninth thank you sentiment that I just cut out with a vellum shadow and some cardstock, and then also some holographic cardstock on top to just finish it off and coordinate with the foiling we did. And I think this just turned out so cute, and it's a very simple and easy way to use your pattern paper and backgrounds. I will just finish it off with a few embellishments here, and then that will pretty much finish this card. Again, this one was really simple. It probably took me, again, maybe 15 minutes max, maybe a little bit more by the time the glimmer had heated up, but really it was a very simple card, and it did not take me long at all, which is the great part about backgrounds and pattern paper, but it can be really hard to use them. So I wanted to share some ideas here, but they can create really fast and easy cards, which is really great. So then I'll just bring in my embellishment wand here and my liquid glue, and I will add these pearls. These are the same ones from Studio Katia, and I just love them. They go with pretty much any project. They're very pretty and give the perfect amount of shine and texture to your cards. So yeah, and that one will pretty much finish it up. Oh yeah, I wanted to add a little white heart, so I added one of those, and that will finish off this card. I think it's very pretty and really nice. Next, my next tip is to cut the pattern paper or the backgrounds out of with dies. So I like to do a lot of small dies, but you can also do like cover plate dies or different things. Here I'm using small dies, and I really love to do this because I think it just helps add texture to a die cut, but it also uses your pattern paper or your backgrounds. I have an assortment of pattern paper here that I am cutting out of. I sped this up a lot because it's pretty much repetitive. I just cut out different elements with different like colors and patterns of this pattern paper, and yeah, I just kept them in this little container off to the side. Next, you see this card design all the time. It is definitely one of my favorites, but I've just taped a little mask with a heart that I cut out of my Cricut, but you could use dies or something to create a mask, whatever you want, or you could even draw it on there if you want, and I will just fill it in with these little florals. I think it's such a nice touch, and it's really beautiful. It did take me a minute to play with the arrangement of this, but this was really the most time-consuming part. The rest of it was fairly simple and fast, and it's a very nice way to use that pattern paper, especially those scraps again. This can be a really great option to use. It took me a while, especially as you get down to the teeny tiny little areas. It can be hard to figure out where to place items, but I've just added them with some liquid glue. On some of the florals, I just glue the center part of the floral so I can like lift it up and give it a little bit more dimension. And then I will just fill in the rest of those areas. Don't worry if there's very tiny areas that are still open and it looks a little bit off, because I'll show you an easy way to fill it in and add some texture. So you'll see I'll just help to give those florals a little bit of dimension, and then I'm going to add some pearls to the center, but you could obviously die cut those out with another color of pattern paper if you want to. I just really like the pearl look for centers, so again I'm using those Studio Katia pearls. I actually wish I would have used my matte gold pearls from Pink Fresh Studio, so I will link those down below as well for you if you want to use those, they turned out fine. I just used the silver sentiment, so it would have been nice to have the silver pearls, but I think it worked in the end, and it looks very beautiful. So yeah, just finishing that off, and then to fill in the little spaces, you could use pearls if you want, but I really like to use little hearts, so I'm going to bring in the white hearts again, and I will just fill in those little areas that need a little bit of something in them to just finish it off. So you can obviously lift up your mask and see where what areas need to be filled, because it tends to be more obvious once you lift the mask, because the mask definitely shows the heart shape, but when you pull it up, it's harder to see, so you want to make sure that you see the heart shape, and so I just fill it in a little bit. And then I just chose a foiled sentiment. This is the same sentiment set. I think it's the Everyday Sentiment strip set from Spellbinders, and then I foiled this one with some matte gold foil. And I had already made these sentiments, but you can obviously use a different sentiment or stamp a sentiment strip if you'd like. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that cardboard onto the back of this to give this sentiment some dimension. And then that will pretty much finish off this card. It's very, very simple and very elegant. And I think this is a very, very beautiful card design that you can use with pattern paper and backgrounds, but then you can also use all sorts of different dies and cover plate dies that you want to help you use those backgrounds and the pattern paper. And that finishes it off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and come back next week for a new video. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration, check out my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at MeisterArts and Crafts. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.